guys? It's Jonathan with One Big Impact. So this is day 5 of the One Big Impact 60-day challenge. So today's video topic is actually going to be how to conquer or how to stop emotional eating. I think one of the biggest factors that we tend to overlook is sustainability. As far as, well, first of all, side note, do you know how hard it is as a YouTuber to find places where there's not people? I'm behind the gym next to a canal road and in the most unobvious place that I've never seen anybody park, and then sure enough, as soon as I get over here, somebody parks right next to me. It's just amazing. And clearly I need to shave. Something that we always tend to overlook is emotional eating and sustainability. So when you become on this healthy journey, you have to realize some things. Many of us end up with some type of eating disorder, or we end up with extra weight on us for reasons other than just not knowing proper nutrition. Because we can blame not knowing proper nutrition all we want, but the reality is we all know that if we eat too many calories or too much food, we get overweight. And let's be realistic about this. It's not necessarily the quantity or quality of food, it's the types of food and why we're eating them is pretty much when we become overweight. So for the majority of us, I can never grow a beard. It drives me freaking nuts to have hair on my face. The majority of us tend to feed emotional stress, anxiety, anger with food or with other things, but specifically we're talking about food right now. Now, other people can use drugs, alcohol, all types of things. But what you need to realize is you need to understand when that happens, understand it's happening. Figure it. Think of it. Don't put it in the back of your mind. Don't try to process it till later. Another person just parked right there. I absolutely can't believe it. It's never happened before. You have to understand and acknowledge that it's happening, and it's okay that it's happening. You have to understand it. The next most important thing is, although you understand that it's happening and that it's coming no matter what, you understand it's there, it's also not okay to treat yourself this way. So if you walk yourself through a scenario of a situation in which you're having a difficult time, whether it's emotional stress, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be anger, it could be frustration, it could be just like things that you don't understand how to deal with properly inside your life. You have to understand that going through a difficult time is difficult for you, okay? So by eating your feelings away or making yourself feel better through eating food that you're not supposed to or anything can actually make it double worse. So you're not only already experiencing a difficult situation, but then you're telling yourself it's okay because you're dragged down and beat down to further drag and beat down this individual that is you even more than they already were. And that's not okay. You need to say, you know what? I can't do this. I love myself. It's difficult. And remember, I'm not saying this is ever going to be an easy road. I'm not saying you're ever going to completely perfect this. I'm saying understand what's happening. When you understand something, you have a better way of being able to fight something. When two people go into battle with each other, they research, hey, what like for instance in medieval times or whatever, they go, okay, this guy has swords. Well, we have harpoons or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you study the opponent. In this situation, the opponent is actually your own mind. Your own inability to fight off these feelings without trying to mask them with something else. The reality is, you're not doing anything to help yourself. You're actually doing something to further hurt yourself. It literally is self-harm. The next thing is create a strategy to deal with this. Now, there's so many different things, and what works for you won't work for me, and what works for you may not work for another person. And it really is just trial and error. The important thing that you remember is not to do the same things that you've been doing without any luck. So if you try something and it doesn't work, try something else. It depends on the day. You also have to remember, just because you try something today doesn't mean it won't work at a later time. It all depends on maybe the situation or the emotion or the things that you're going through. Obviously, you have to dig something deeper sometimes into why you're doing this. Are you doing this because of something you went through in your childhood or in the past, or a loss or something like that? I'm just going to give you A, B, C, D, and E, and I wrote them down so I don't stumble over everything, on some things that I've tried and that have worked for me. And they may or may not work for you, but just to give you some ideas. So first of all, obviously, if you're on Atkins or anything low carb, I would say be really careful with this, but also it can stop you. So if you're an emotional eater and you eat when you're down or depressed or angry or stressed or whatever, try to chew gum instead. Now, I know they have sugar alcohols and stuff like that, but a lot of the times just chewing will set off those receptors inside your mind, thinking that you're full or thinking that you're satisfied, or getting that feeling of chewing will kind of block out those feelings or block out the idea or concept of going to eat poorly, because you're technically eating something already. Further on that, eat your meal. Realistically, a lot of the times, or some of the times, you might actually be hungry. So eat the meal that you've prepped. C, video journal about your feelings. Regardless if you fall apart or don't fall apart or whatever happens. But video journal what's happening to you, what you're going through in your life. Maybe you don't even know what's triggering it. But if you feel that something happened and you just fall apart and you start eating poorly, video journal after, video journal before if you catch it, video journal anytime. A lot of the times just expressing your feelings, even if it's not to another human being, just saying it out loud gets it out of your head and actually gets it out of your mouth, back into your ears, and might actually process in a different way. The next thing, D, talk to a friend. If you don't have a friend, make one, find one. Kids are actually great friends sometimes. Believe it or not, kids will listen to your problems. And if they're your own kids, it probably makes it better. It probably makes it less weird. But realistically, you know, children are always listening, always willing to listen to you. So if you have kids or a brother or a sister or somebody that you live with, it really can make a difference. Just talking about it and kind of getting it off your chest. And a lot of the times it could just be the issue rather than talking about the problem of emotional eating, because that makes you yourself feel a little bit vulnerable, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. E, tell yourself it's okay to feel those feelings, but also that it's not okay and it's not helping you, it's actually hurting you to do this. You guys work really hard on your journey, you really do. You work really hard on eating right and meal prepping and doing all these things, going to work, dealing with kids, dealing with stress, all of these things. It's really important that you don't hinder your process, you help your process, and realize that there's so many different aspects of this with societal pressure, but also inside your own mind can be the biggest battle. Number 4, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is mastering your mind can be one of the hardest things that you've ever done. Tell yourself, I'm gonna be okay, I can do this because I'm strong and I love me. You guys, the reality is that in life, there's only one person that's going to be there for the rest of your life. It's not me, it's not your husband, it's not your wife, it's not your grandma, it's not your mom, it's not your sister, it's not your brother, it's not your kids, it's nobody. The only person that you have to answer to yourself for the rest of your life is yourself. I think it's probably a good idea that you really focus on treating yourself very well for your entire life, or at least working on it continuously. You guys have a beautiful day. Be stronger than your excuses. Remember to spread love, not hate. If you're new here, please check us out on Facebook. Our group is called Healthy Living for a Healthy Life. If you're in the challenge, I'd like you to tell me below what your strategy is for emotional eating in the future. Maybe you don't have one in place now, or maybe you do. If you do, put it in the comments below. If you don't, put it in the comments below. That's something that you'd like to try. Have a beautiful day, guys. Thanks.